Welcome back to the Dallas Prospect. Today we're talking Dallas's 120-114 victory on the road in Minnesota. Not only did you get the rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals, but you had a real early opportunity for Dallas in this young season to kind of show what they're going to look like. By which I mean, what is their level of resilience? How does the late game execution work? It's been a little up and down. You might hear 3-1 and think like, well, how bad could it really be? You haven't had any substantial injuries or anything yet. This is true. Knock on wood. However, you have had some adversity with your interior defense, particularly in that Phoenix game, just looking abysmal how you got nuked by Nurkic. I was going to say never understand, but I guess a couple years ago that wouldn't have been so hard to grasp. But that was surprising to say the least. And Luka's had some issues with that leg, still doesn't look quite right. Even last night in stretches, you get like multiple bad possessions offensively from him in a row where he's forcing shots and then becoming a liability on the defensive end the other way. And it's just like, ugh, yeah. But then you get that kind of Luka moment where we just say like, huh, all right, well, he's still that dude. You also had just the fact that the Wolves hate your guts. You didn't just embarrass them in 5 games last year in the Western Conference Finals, but you made it so thoroughly clear that as good as Anthony Edwards is, and as good as he tried to showcase himself as in this first quarter in this game in particular, he's still at best the third best player in this matchup. It's Luka, it's Kyrie. Kyrie really doing the most damage last night with 35 big points, including a huge second half as well. But even still, how you are going to be able to weather that storm and just go into this hostile environment that just wants to destroy you. They wanted to win by 40 points. I didn't foresee that, obviously, but I knew that there was going to be some adversity that you don't have in normal visiting arenas. So in this game, when Anthony Edwards opens with 24 points in the first quarter and just is a barrage of three-pointers, it's kind of like, oh, all right, he's fired up. He's ready to do this. And the fact that really it was Dallas's three-point shooting that Minnesota just couldn't really contend with. Obviously, the big shot making of Luka and Kyrie. But that three-point shooting for Dallas was so pivotal in that series last year. Anthony Edwards seems to be putting a greater focus on his three-point shot this year. He's taking more attempts than he did previously. So maybe there was something there. And when he's hitting on that and he's got 24 in the first frame, it's like, okay, challenge recognized. But it was after that things cooled off. Edwards much quieter, nearly dead silent in the second quarter. So even though Minnesota builds as much as a 10-point lead, it never really feels like it's out of reach. And then Kyrie gets going in that third quarter. Luka gets going a little bit. Luka's still not quite there offensively, but in that fourth quarter, the closing, Kai starting in the third quarter, but Luka and Kai in conjunction, man, oh man, it was a thing of beauty because this was the first ho-hum game you get from Klay Thompson as a Maverick. He has 7 points on the night. Nothing substantial there, but again, when you're getting 35 out of Klay and then Luka's going to give you 24, including several, I think he had 11 in the fourth quarter, Luka did. So just incredible stuff there from Dallas and how they were able to execute in crunch time. Just rising to the challenge because Minnesota had like a stretch of like 6 or 7 possessions in a row in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter even, where they were getting buckets. But Dallas was just always answering. Even when that lead whittled from 13 down to 2 or 3 points, Dallas answered. And then Minnesota answered. And then Dallas answered. And it was just every time Minnesota threw a haymaker, Dallas countered. Sometimes it was Kyrie making a gather three-point shot, even when he's bobbling the ball as he's loading up the shot. Other times it's Luka with that hesitation scoop move with the reverse, or it's Luka shooting a step-back shot clock expiring 3 from damn near half court. Just psycho stuff there from Luka. The purity of that shot, as TGK put it on Twitter, was just unmatched. Like, could not have been more beautiful, brutal, or just devastating for Minnesota. Like, that crowd and that franchise in general just has straight up PTSD when Luka does that kind of thing. Because it's just like, dude, I don't know why fans still challenge him, why they still think like, oh, I'm going to jaw with him. Yes, Boston was the first franchise, the first fan base to get away with that. But it's because you had a super team and Luka was beaten down not near 100%. in that series. Hell, the entire playoff run for the Mavericks last year, he was never better than 80 or 85%. That's not to say like, oh, that's not good enough. It is. But when you're going against a super team on top of everything, and a well-rested super team at that, that's where you're going to have your adversity and your difficulty. So it is what it is. But just really impressive stuff from the Mavericks on this. I especially like Luka. Yeah, he plays 40 minutes. It's his first big minute game of the season. But he has 24, 8, and 9. Still only 10 of 27 from 3, 1 of 8 from 3. So the game before that, he was 1 of 9 from 3. Little bit something there. He's on a cold stretch there. But he does also give you a steal and keeps the turnovers down with just 3. Kyrie Irving in 39 minutes had 35 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists on 13 of 23 shooting, including 6 of 8 from 3. So Kyrie was cooking, man. Huge for this team. Now, Kai did hurt Dallas late, and fortunately it doesn't matter because an 89% free throw shooter steps to the line with, I think it was just over a minute left, a chance to push the lead back up to, I want to say 5 at that point. And he misses not one, but both. Now, it doesn't matter, and we're not talking about it because new Maverick Najee Marshall strips Anthony Edwards before he can even like initiate whatever move he's going to try and take. He's bringing the ball up. He's kind of hitting that like quick hesitation to start going into his sequence, and the knife just knifes his way in there, swipes the ball free. Dallas gets the steal, goes to the line, and then Marshall sinks both foul shots. So, yeah, that was a really nice moment for him. It's one of those things. It's like defensively, he's solid. That three-point shot, those opportunities will come. You'll see what he can do on that front. But that is exactly the kind of thing you look for where it's just like, bro, all right, man. He's like, I'm not even about to play with whatever nonsense you're going to do. I see an opportunity. I'm taking it now. And he absolutely put that one away. PJ Washington also came up big, 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Love that for PJ, having a strong game there. I mentioned earlier, Klay Thompson in 30 minutes only had 7 points. He was 2 of 7 from 3. Didn't really take a ton of shots. Every one of them was a three-pointer. But even still, I liked, and they were both threes in the first half, I want to say at that. But I liked what he was bringing to the table. Again, just the gravity of a guy like that is going to change things. There were definitely sequences that opened. Luka hit PJ Washington on a back screen, wide open alley-oop dunk coming out of a timeout. That the reason that's open is because Klay is setting the back screen, and the gravity of Klay Thompson holds the defender for an extra moment, just like, oh crap, is this a misdirection to keep him open, get him a wide open look, and he only needs a half a heartbeat to get that shot off. Meanwhile, there's PJ already rising up to throw it down. So huge there, just what he's able to bring to the table. I wanted to give a shout out too to Daniel Gafford, 14 points in 21 minutes, 6 of 6 from the field. Dude, Gafford, of the 2 centers last year in that series, Gafford was more so the liability. Played hard, but defensively was just really struggling, really exposed even at times. And Lively, he's had 5 and 9 in 27 minutes and a block with 3 steals. So Lively, he did nice off the bench, but I really was impressed with Gafford's contribution. It felt like, okay, it's kind of like he took this personally, knowing like, hey, we won last year in this matchup, but it was really more because of him than it was me. I'm going to make sure I'm coming in here, getting that bounce back and doing my part of the job. Spencer Dinwiddie gets 18 minutes as well. Doesn't shoot the ball well. He's only 1 of 5. So I'll be curious to see how that goes because now he's, after surging out and having his big moment or two, now he's kind of gone a little quiet, it feels like, these last couple games. So I'll be curious to see how this carousel works of these backup guards, if we see a little bit more Jaden Hardy in the future. He only got 4 minutes last night. Najee Marshall, again, 4 and 3. 0 of 3 from the field, but 4 of 4 at the line, including those 2 huge free throws. Loved that. Quentin Grimes, man. Now, I understand Quentin Grimes draws some hard matchups defensively, but 12 minutes, 9 points, 3 of 5 from 3. That's the sort of thing that you have him for. That defensive ability at the guard position and that ability to be a capable three-point shooter. Really loved seeing what he was able to bring to the table. Now, for the Timberwolves, it's largely what you know. They had good balanced scoring. Anthony Edwards has 37. Again, 24 of those came in the first quarter, so he did really quiet down after that. But he was still 12 of 20 from the field overall, including 7 of 13 from 3. Where they got sank, as good as Anthony Edwards was, he was 6 of 12 at the foul line. That's really the difference of this game. Like, Dallas wins by 6. He missed 6 free throws. That kind of says it. Now, I'm not saying, like, oh, he's supposed to be perfect if he shoots 12 free throws. You would like that for a superstar, sure. But we can relate to this from past years when Luka really struggled at times with free throws. It's like, if you're at least making 8 out of 12, fine. Really, you want to be making 10, but like 10 plus. But even if you're just giving 8, then fine. But if you're making less than that, then it's like, okay, that's a liability, and that's really a sizable difference in this game. Julius Randle in 35 minutes, near triple-double for him, 27 and 7 on 7 of 13, including 3 of 3 from 3. So really liked what he brought to the mix. I mean, he's a good player. I know that I've been a little bit downplaying this Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle trade. It's not because I don't respect either player. Well, I don't have as much respect for Cat, but it's not because I don't respect him as a player. It's more about that fit and what I feel like their ceiling kind of is. To me, it didn't really elevate them as a collective team higher than they were already with Cat and with Anthony Edwards. It really felt more to me like it was signifying like the complete and further handoff to this new era where it's like, no, it's Ant's team, not Cat's. If Cat kind of wants it to be 1A, 1B, like we saw a couple times in the series last year where late in games, Anthony Cat was shooting them out of games, just trying to pull the trigger and shooting really poorly, except for the one game Minnesota won. He was really solid down the stretch there. But this kind of just felt like them signifying that more than anything. I didn't really feel like they upgraded as a team. Jaden McDaniels as well, giving them 13, 4, and 4. Gobert, he wasn't victimized by Luka for once. I mean, not as viciously. I think as everyone else had the PTSD moment there, I think he was just relieved for once it was somebody else. In fact, Luka even got that ISO on him in the closing minutes of the game and missed the 3. And it was like, whew, you don't see Luka get the switch on the big often and miss the 3. Like, that hardly ever happens. So I think he was relieved for once that it was McDaniels on Luka when Luka hits that near half-court heave and just makes it look completely effortless. Naz Reid, 14 and 9 off the bench as well. So really in this game, the things that stand out to me, I think Dallas's defense is generally good. They shot better, 41% from 3, although Minnesota was 49%, making almost 20 threes. They were 19 of 39 as a team, so Minnesota shot the piss out of the ball, which is really good to get that win. Dallas did a decent job at the line, 14 of 18. I'd like to see a little bit more in the attempts department, but it is what it is. I mentioned earlier the free throws. It's also the turnovers. Minnesota had 20 turnovers. Dallas had 9. And I want to say in the second half, I don't think it ended up being the case, but we were deep into the fourth quarter, and they were talking about in the second half, Dallas only had 1 turnover. I think it was like 8 turnovers in the first half, and then only 1 in the second half for Dallas. So incredible stuff there. That's your difference there. Like, because the rebounds are nearly a push, 40 to 42, 12 offensive for Dallas, 11 for the Wolves. Blocks were even. Dallas did win a lot in the steals department, but when you have a turnover differential like that, you're going to get that. So this really was an evenly matched game where it, again, just came down to Dallas has the 2 best big shot makers, the best offensive backcourt in the league, the 2 best big shot makers in this matchup, certainly. And as good as Anthony Edwards is, he's not A, at that level yet, not yet, and B, he just doesn't have the same measure of help, although he does have a very nice team around him. So, yeah, it's a good win for Dallas. As Luka said afterwards, you know, they got in at like 2:30 in the morning because it was the second night of a back-to-back after the Utah game. Got in at like 2:30 in the morning and then had a 6:30 tip-off for the game. That is brutal to have to ask that of your guys. But Dallas, in that environment, in that matchup, that degree of opponent and everything, responded well, and came up huge with, you know, it's obviously a young season, but it's their best win so far of the season. I'll take it. I'm not going to sweat the fact that it wasn't all perfect. As long as Luka's able to manage whatever health thing he's got with that leg, or if we need to start thinking about giving him a little bit of rest just to make sure he's good, whatever the case may be, I am feeling good right now as a Mavericks fan. But let me know, what were your thoughts on the game? Leave a comment below, subscribe to the Dallas Prospect, and until next time, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Peace.